I call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. on Monday, March 1st. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Celine?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
David Brohl?
Yes.
David Dempsey?
Yes.
All right, sit back and relax. Today is Monday, March 1st, and the time is 6:03 p.m. and we're opening the Recreation Committee meeting. As a preliminary matter, this is Mike Volpone, Chair of the Nearby Recreation Committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Board members, when I call your name, please affirm and respond in the affirmative. David Brohl.
Affirmative.
David Dempsey.
Affirmative.
Celine Muldowney.
Affirmative.
Mark Stan.
Affirmative.
Alicia Greco, not present currently, but is planning on attending. Employee reps or other town attendees, if any, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tracy Blaze has accepted an invite, but is not here at this time. Anticipated guest speakers on the agenda, please respond in the affirmative. Chris Huntress is accepted and is anticipated to attend. Good evening. Today is March 1st and is 6:04 p.m. An open meeting of the Newbury Recreation Committee, which is being conducted remotely, consistent with the Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gathering, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible and physical location. Furthermore, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting allows for public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Newbury Recreation Committee is convening by video conference via Zoom as posted on the Recreation Committee agenda, which can be found on the Recreation Committee page on the town's website. The agenda identifies how the public may join the meeting. This agenda can also be accessed from the website's homepage by clicking the box that says agendas at the top of the news box. For Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded, and for some attendees and participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that all folks may be able to see you, and that take care not to screen share your computer unless you are requested to do so by me. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Materials were provided to the board committee members prior to the meeting for review. We are now turning on to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate minutes. For any discussion item, I, the chair, will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, everyone other than board members, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please use earbuds or earphones with tablets and cell phones. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. Take care not to share your screen. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Board members will be called upon first in alphabetical order to ease the process. If board members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourselves. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. We are now on to the agenda. Let's shift sides of the screens. Reading of the previous meeting's minutes. Mark sent those up the other day. I'm not sure who got a chance to read them. Did anybody got any questions regarding them? Other than me? I feel like I'm sitting in a, this is the meetings from February 8th. Anybody have any questions?
No.
The only thing I had, Mark, I kind of got singled out on a lot of these things. It was kind of a conversation between you and me based on what it is. I'm not disagreeing that I had these opinions, but I wasn't the only one. So as long as it's been recorded that I can at least say that, I'm not going to change the minutes for something like that. So I don't have any questions. Do I hear a motion to accept the meeting minutes as posted, as received?
Make the motion to accept the minutes as received.
Second,
Second,
all those in favor? Celine,
yes.
Mark,
Yes.
David Brohl,
Yes.
and David Dempsey. David,
Yes.
thank you. Any correspondence that anybody's received? The only thing I got was something from Stefano regarding to Rush for the summer application, which I told them we would be voting on at our next meeting, and they said thank you.
I have Bill.
Yep.
So I got a bill from propane from in December and then again in January. Did we not winterize the field house last year and
No.
forget to do it this year?
No, I think they keep the temperature at like a constant 50 degrees so that the pipes don't freeze or something like that.
Oh, we didn't winterize it?
No, I think that they might go in and they might pour antifreeze in the toilet just in case. But I think we
Okay.
discussed this a while ago that they keep it at around 50 degrees. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I was told.
All right, well, that was another bill.
Does that make
Was-
sense to you, Mark?
That's my understanding, yes. And then they check it weekly to see if there is any internal problems.
Cool.
What's the bills for? How much?
This month it was 600 and change,
From,
the month of January.
okay.
When you say this month, January or?
Well, the invoice came in February
Okay.
for January.
Can we talk to DPW? Because that does sound high. If there's a way in going
Last
forward,
month, December was around 500 and change.
Okay.
What are they
I
doing?
know what the DPUs were for the month. I know that they were.
I have them in my other computer. I don't have them in front of me.
If we can check that for the next meeting, Celine, just to get an idea. It doesn't sound right.
And maybe I'm confusing it with my oil bill. Oops.
Uh,
Okay. Anything else regarding correspondence? Okay. The only item on the agenda for tonight is old business, is basketball court and the RFP decision. Hi, Chris. Can't hear you yet.
How about now?
Now we're good.
Good.
Chris was nice enough to share, and I forwarded it out to everybody. Everybody got to see the breakdown of the bids and stuff that we received on February 17th, 18th, whatever day it was. Little surprise is an understatement, at least from my area, but we all, I mean, we kind of talked about it or had our opinions. Floor is open for discussion.
Would you like me to run through? I can put
Please.
bid analysis up online and then talk about the seventh bid that came in as well.
Okay.
Okay, if
Celine,
I
can you-
share screen?
Can you share the screen for him?
Hold on a second. That work?
Yep, that works. So can everybody see the Excel spreadsheet I've got up in front of me? It's on a PDF, but it's a Excel spreadsheet. So it takes you through the base bid. You receive 6 bids. And if you look over here on the left where my cursor is, Court Construction on top, all the way down through Jam Corp. And this first column is your base bids. Second column, alternate 1 through all the way out through alternate 7, and then a total. If you recall, our total estimates were in the range of 225 to 240. So pretty much representative of these kind of top 3 bids here that you see kind of clustered in. We had hoped to get that base bid down further than we did. And we didn't really realize any COVID discount, I think, based on the fact that there's just not that much fluff in this job. There's not a lot of ways to cut. The seventh bid that we received was from Vermont Recreation, who was on the plan holders list and had participated throughout the bid process with discussion and questions and whatnot through my office. We see them bid more often as a sub than they do as a prime. So I thought when I didn't see their bid on bid day, I figured maybe they had bid as a sub. They do surfacing and fence work most often, but this is a job that they're capable of. So what happened was they called me on Friday, the day after the bid, and said, we heard from FedEx and they never delivered our bid. They sent their bid via FedEx to you on the 16th it was supposed to arrive on the 17th. The bid opening was on the 18th. It didn't arrive until the 21st, which would be the following Monday. At which time Tracy and Julie alerted me to the fact that they had received another bid, and I happened to be in the area, so I stopped into town hall and picked it up, and we opened it. Which we're obviously allowed to do. The bid had a base bid of $131,900, which would have made them low on the base bid by about $9,000. I did call Vermont Rec and went through their bid with them, told them that we couldn't accept it because it was late. State law is pretty clear on the use of a FedEx or a delivery service, that it's the bidder's responsibility to make sure that the delivery service follows through. So you can't accept it. Given the fact that I know you're over your proposed budget, I think it might make sense here to rebid, so that you can try and get the value out of Vermont's bid, but also it would allow us to make some minor adjustments to the base bid that might help you get that price down even further. And if you don't have questions about the bids, why don't I stop here and ask if there's any questions about the bids before I get into how we would modify it?
The only thing that I had, Chris, is it seemed like going into it, we had talked about the number. We thought we were pretty, I wouldn't say comfortable, but we thought we were going to be in the ballpark at 130. And then with the potential for it being slow time, that we can possibly see anywhere from a 10 to 15 down from the 10 to 30 originally discussed of a bid. So we thought we'd be in the ballpark, and seeing the numbers, I was kind of blown away when I heard it, Dave.
Yep.
So it was one of those, I was kind of wondering, did we either overestimate what was going on? Did we not have the right timing? Or is it just not the right audience that decided to bid on this?
I think it's a little of both. I think, the audience is certainly part of it. I mean, when you get down to Vermont Rec's low bid, you were at 131.9 for the base bid. So you're pretty much right where we had our estimates. And when you look at our overall estimates, we're at 225 to 240 in that range, which is right where you had three of them fall. So, why didn't we realize the value on some of the base bids? I mean, you got to take somebody like Edward Page, you got to just take him right out entirely. I mean, he's just not looking at the same project as everybody else. Otherwise you had a low bid of 141, which is, 10 grand over where we thought we'd be, or 11 grand over where we had hoped we would be, based on our cost estimate. So it's not, it wasn't as shocking to me. I knew that we'd have some that would be higher, but I had thought we might see more clustered in that base bid around that 130 to 140 number. In talking to a couple of the bidders afterwards about what they thought drove the price up, they talked to us about the surfacing options that we had. Most of the discussion was around alternates that were driving the price up and not base bid stuff. But there were a few comments about the excavated material that comes out of the cut. And if you don't have a good home for that, then you have to pay to get that removed and taken away and disposed of, which can add some cost, and did in this case to at least a couple of the bidders that I debriefed afterwards. And one of the suggestions, if we rebid, was to allow the town trucks to take away the excavated material, which is really topsoil and gravel, and take it to wherever you guys might process that kind of stuff. It would save you some money, and the GC could load it and your trucks could be there to take it away. It would be about 12 round trips. You know, how much that would bring it down, I don't think you're talking more than, you know, $3,000 to $5,000, but it's going to save some money and get you down a little bit further.
Well, we talked about possibly looking at that culvert area over by the tree between the kind of splitting the two fields off on that side, that maybe that's a place we could have that put.
Oh, right on site.
Yeah,
And Dave, just, I don't know if with your background, if that was something that I mean, I know the pipe would need to be extended, but I'm just wondering if we could put it there and that would just help us, because when we have to fill in that area, so we could use more of the area, that may be a place to save us money and help us on the next job.
You'd have to show me where it is just to make sure that it's not in some kind of a wetland buffer zone or something else. But if it's, are we talking reasonably in general location of where we are now?
Yeah, we're talking, go ahead, Dave.
It's basically across the field there. It's a quadrant that is like a little knoll across from, if you're looking at the basketball court where the basketball is going to go, and then you have the two fields there.
Yeah.
There is a little knoll right continuing.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a wetland system on the back side over there, I believe. It's been a while. I'd have to go back and look at it, but yeah, we would just have to make sure that we were outside of any jurisdictional areas. The other thing just to be cautious of is although you want to you want to save money, if the contractor has to drive across your athletic fields to get there, now he's going to carry money to restore those at the same time. So you just want to be careful that we don't make it more expensive in the end than just getting rid of it. You know, the perfect answer would be, let's move it to the right of the basketball court and create a graded and mounded area and use the topsoil again to stabilize it and seed it, and you're done. So you just take the cut out. Do you guys have a plan view in front of you? I switched plans. I don't know if that.
Yes.
All right. So you would take your cut out of here and quite frankly, just move it over here into the, you know, on top of what is the reserve, which is really just, you know, nothing. And then put your topsoil down and reseed it on top of that. And that eliminates the material as well, if you don't want to have the town trucks take it away. Or we make a pile of it for you and you have the town haul it to wherever you'd like, which may be the other side of the fields or someplace else.
That seems to be the best. Well, I mean, obviously you'd have to talk to Tracy and the DPW to see if everything logistically is okay, but I would think that would be the easiest solution for everybody, to cut that ridge in, and then whatever excess material, like you're talking about, put it as close to an area that we might be able to like level off or pilot, and then see if the town will just move it 100, 200 yards up onto that field area.
Yeah. I mean, you want to minimize the amount of times you have to handle it. So if, you know, the thought would be that the GC would load it right into town trucks and they could bring it right to wherever it's going, and be responsible for grading it out from there. You know, the town be responsible for grading it out from there. We're just trying to find ways to cut, you know, a few dollars because your budget's, you know, pretty tight. So the other suggestion that we made was that you create one more alternate. It'll become alternate number 1. And you move these 4 basketball uprights into that alternate. I would keep the footing in the base bid, but just the uprights alone, the goalposts and backboards and rims and nets are $2,500 a piece. That's 10 grand right there. If you make it alternate 1, it would be the very first alternate. So if the bids come in, you know, the way you hope that they would, then you could award that alternate, or you buy them yourselves directly from the manufacturer after they're installed and have them stood up on the footings that are already in place.
The problem there being, what happens if someone comes in and the numbers are too high and we want to buy them, but we want option 2, which is the VersaCore? Can we still do that?
I mean, we'd have to do the VersaCore for the future.
Unless you go in and go to town meeting and find more money, you're not going to get to the point where you can do the.
Yeah. Okay. The VersaCore is going to cost us $30,000. So it will have to be plan B. get the basketball court built and then come up with another $30,000 from
These
wherever.
were the alternates right here, alternate number
Mhm.
one. I just switched back to the spreadsheet. I hope you did too.
I look at Jam and you go, they're low bid at 141, but their VersaCourt's like not
So I
even
talked-
close to anybody else's.
I talked to them about that. They tell me that was a typo and it should have been $35,000, not $65,000.
Big typo.
Yeah, it is. I did tell, so I qualified these bids. I called all three of the low bidders and kind of went through alternate by alternate each one to make sure that they carried what we expected. Jam Corp told me, well, no, we meant that one to be 35,000, not 65, because it just, it makes no sense. I've seen the bids directly from VersaCourt and Sport Court, and they weren't $65,000. So I don't know how Jam came up with that. So they agreed that that was a miss, and they offered right away, well, we'll just take that off and we'll revise our bid. I said, you can't revise bids and you can't accept a revised bid. You could do a deduct change order when you authorize the contract if you decide to do that, but you couldn't, you can't negotiate with a bidder now in this process. It's not allowed by state law.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that was one of the alternatives. So those are your surfacing numbers to go to the resilient tile in lieu of the acrylic painted surface. Alternate number 2 was split rail fence that you see here. Alternate number 3, players benches, and there were 2 of those. Alternate number 4 are the granite benches outside the fence. Alternate number 5 was to go from a 4-foot chain link fence around half of the courts to 6 foot. And alternate number 6 was to go from that 6-foot chain link fence to a 10-foot. And alternate number 7 was concrete in place of asphalt. So you have a pretty good breakdown of where the numbers are in all of these.
So the potential of rebidding this, what do we need to do?
So Tracy last week agreed and directed me to advertise for rebid. So we did. We submitted a rebid advertisement last Thursday, so it'll be printed in the Central Register 2 days from now on Wednesday, and with bids coming in on. Sorry, let me just look at the calendar.
The 17th?
I believe it was either the 17th or the 18th. I'd have to look, but I typically do the 18th, but yeah, the 17th would have done it.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at what we put on the spec. And we could repackage the plans and specs, pick up the changes through the 2 addendum that we issued before, and have everything ready to go back out on the street so that you could take new bids. The only direction I would need from you guys is if we're going to change the alternates, add the 4 goalposts in as an alternate number 1. And if we're going to provide direction on how to minimize this cost of excavation, what direction are we giving the contractors? And that's the decision I need. Hopefully tonight, but by the latest by Wednesday.
Well, we're gonna have to, if that's the case, we need to decide on it tonight, so.
Right.
And what were the 2 again? I apologize, the excavating in the hoops?
Yeah, the excavation, which would not be an alternate, it would just be, we would just direct the contractors in the bids to do something different with that. You got about 220 to 250 cubic yards of material, which is about 12 to 14, vehicle trips with a 20-yard dump. So I would just have to tell them, and often we do this, where we'll tell them either bring it to a facility and pile it for the owner to take later, or the owner will come with their own trucks and you load it, or we just tell them, move it over here, grade it out, and top it with the loam from this excavation, and you get a mounded area next to the basketball courts later. But that's a much cheaper thing than having to truck it all over.
Thoughts?
How does that affect that leaching field? Does it not affect the leaching
It
field?
doesn't affect the leaching field. So this is donated, noted as a reserve area. Reserve area is nothing more than an area on a plan that you draw the same size as your leaching field. Your leaching field is actually over here.
Okay, great.
Reserve area would be something that you set aside should your leaching field fail. You have an area to move over to. It would just mean that if your leaching field ever failed over here, you'd have to now dig through that material to put a new leaching field in. But otherwise it doesn't impact.
That seems to be
There is
the,
no impact because there's nothing there.
that would probably be the cheapest solution, correct?
That would be the cheapest solution, right?
And that could blend in with the leaching field?
Yeah, you've got, yeah, it rises up over here. So what I would probably do is just, bank it into that little slope here and just grade it off.
Perfect.
Lose it right through there.
So
Chris,
Chris,
I got a
when you
quick
talk
question.
about the footings for the other four baskets,
Yes.
what does it entail for the installation? Is the footings are the openings and the holes all preset and it's just putting them in, or is there digging and some excavating, or what's it entail for the installation afterwards? Because now you got a court that's all set, it's down. How much is it going to entail putting them in?
Let me show you. It's a good question. We're going to change this detail. I just zoomed in on detail 11. Do you guys see that?
Yep.
Good. I'm sorry. Sometimes when we move things around in a Zoom meeting, it doesn't always work on your end. This is the footing detail for the basketball goal. It's 4 feet deep and 3 feet wide. Typically there's a sonotube or a drain pipe that you will, a corrugated pipe that will go in that becomes the form for that. But it's got another 8 inches of compact gravel underneath and then gravel around it. So it's a pretty significant piece of concrete. On this detail, the manufacturer actually makes a surface mount detail. This would require a sleeve that I'd rather not do if I wasn't going to put the goal in right away. But there's a surface mount detail with anchor bolts that I could switch to that would allow the footing to be installed now and then the goalpost to come along later. And that's an easy change for us. I just have to change the detail up a little bit differently. But that's how we would do it. And then you could then just order the goalposts and uprights directly from the manufacturer. The only setback is the thing you have to be aware of is when we set those anchor bolts in place, which will have to go in when the footing goes in, it locks you into that product, because typically a product will have its own anchor bolt spacing and not all manufacturers are the same. So once you've committed to that anchor bolt detail, you'll have it. It'll be that product, but it'll match the two that are in the two main goals that are on the main court are still in the base bid. So it would always match that product. I hope that makes sense.
Yep.
Chris, quick question about the excavation. I don't know if that was the area, maybe somebody else in the group knows, but there had been some fill put into this area years ago. Typically, how much what you're calling topsoil is placed over previously filled area? And what happens if what we're excavating starts becoming less topsoil and more clean fill?
That wouldn't worry me at all. Actually, it wouldn't worry me either way. If we were to go take this material and move it over here, I'm sorry, let me back up. To answer your question, how much topsoil goes back on top of a filled area depends on the contractor that we're dealing with. Now, I worked on this project years ago, and if it was, oh gosh, the guy's name who's going to escape me now. It wasn't Days Landscape. It was Hartnett. John Hartnett did this construction. And he did a nice job. Our specs say that a minimum 6 inches of topsoil has to go down. Means it should be at least 6 inches, but it could be as much as 12 plus or minus inches. So if we excavate through here, I'll give you two scenarios. If we excavate through this area and find that there's 6 inches or less of topsoil, and I move that gravel over here and I top it with whatever topsoil you've got here, and you'd have effectively the same. The other thing we could do is scrape additional topsoil out of this area first, and then move the gravel over and use both topsoil to cover it up. Might be a good idea. Just you don't really want to layer material so that you've got, say, gravel, buried loam, gravel, and then loam on the top.
Yeah.
We probably want to instruct them to strip this topsoil, move the gravel over, regrade the gravel, and then spread all the topsoil back in place. Then you're guaranteed to have a nice, good growth of topsoil there.
Quick question. What happens
Question mark?
if they, what happens if they dig up that, the same thing, the area to the right, take the topsoil off and they find things that they shouldn't find there? Like if there's some kind of, there was a story about what had been put in that general area before, and the prior contractor was, for the septic system, was supposed to remove all that stuff.
Okay.
And so I guess the question is, will there be a problem if they find some kind of material that is bad underneath there? Or is that just something, it happens, and we have to deal with it?
I'll give you two examples. If they go in there and find a stump dump, then it's your call.
Yep.
You're not building on it. You're not, it's only your reserve area for later. You can address it now, or you can leave it all in place. And remember, we're just filling on top of it. We're not excavating on topsoil. We're not taking anything out.
Okay.
However, if they do more than, say, just strip the topsoil, or even under here, under this area, if we find a buried oil tank that still has oil in it, now we're into a reportable condition, right? The contractor has to report it to DEP. I have to report it to DEP if we see it and know about it. So those situations, you'd be required to remediate and take care of it.
Okay.
So it depends on what we find.
Right.
And when the septic system went in, that whole area wasn't inspected, just where the leach field was?
No, the only thing they were doing here, do you see this word reserve right here?
Yep.
So they would have done, yes, the short answer is they would have done test pits in here, and they would have had to show that that material was of a sufficient nature to accommodate a septic field.
But nothing was done where the basketball is proposed to go.
I don't know that. I really have no idea. But in this reserve area, they should have done at least one test pit to at least get some soil samples and show you that it was gravelly and could support a septic field. But I don't know if anything was done in here.
Any additional comments on what's been discussed? Because we're going to need to vote on a new alternate one. And what do you want to do with the topsoil?
Well,
I
my
think the
question-
cheap, good.
Mark, go ahead, Mark.
My question is, do we have the authority to alter the topography of the field, of that space, without going to the board, or the select board?
You do, as well, I'm not sure what your charter says for you guys, but it's outside of all the buffer zones from conservation. So it's not a Conservation Commission related issue. And I happen to sit on the select board in my own town. I can tell you select boards don't have any control over the change of topography one way or another. I believe they would probably defer to you guys on this matter. And Tracy certainly felt that you guys had the ability to do this.
Well, my suggestion is to take in your discussion about taking the topsoil off the reserve area and then moving that stuff over, and then reseeding and refilling it. That would be the easiest, I think, for the contractor and cost-wise for us. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel.
Yeah,
I'm okay
think
with that.
One of the only concern that might be if with moving the soil and stuff, as long as that the finished grade doesn't impact water runoff onto the basketball courts or onto the playing fields. And I think, that's just, being responsible on how you grade it down and how you, pitch it away from those things. So, I think that's probably the most cost-effective way to handle this. And if that can save us, $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000, then that's something that maybe we can, at that point in time, make a decision to look at that first option and put the other, go towards the other four goalposts going in.
Do I hear a motion someone's going to make regarding either or a combination thereof?
Let me ask you one other thing, Chris. If we didn't if we didn't do anything to the bid and sent it back out to see where they would come back in on a second bid, but also give that low bidder who missed the deadline an opportunity to rebid. What's your opinion on that? Do you think that they'd say, okay, you know, it's going back out again. Obviously they were too high. Let's take it down a little bit. Would they all, you know, take a step down? I know some of them probably come right back in at the same bid, but you know, I think a couple of the lower bid competitors might come back at a little bit lower bid all the way across. What do you think?
I think you'd be lucky to get the low bid back at 131.9. You probably would. Quite frankly, you know, without telling you too much of what Vermont said to me, Vermont said, well, we'll just resubmit our bid at 131.9 unless you're going to change the document. So you'll get a bid of 131.9
Okay.
out of Vermont. What the others will do, I can't be certain, but some won't bid it. Some bidders really get offended by the fact that, and offended is the right word here, that we would put it out to bid because everybody's seen the numbers now. Everybody's seen, all the competitors have seen each other's numbers.
Right.
And they'll say, well, I'm not going to bid this a second time, particularly if they were high.
Yeah.
They may not, they're going to move on to another project. So you won't get 7 bids again. It'll be something less than that, but you will get a bid of 131.9.
And how do you feel about the quality of that contractor at 131.9? Is that something that you have confidence in that would come in and be able to maintain that budget and stay at that price? And do a
So
good
they
job?
have worked for us before in the town of Upton. Specifically, they did a project not unlike this. It was 1 basketball court and 1 tennis court at a recreation area, and they served as the general contractor. Their work is fine. Their work is very good. The paperwork's a little slippery sometimes. Not slippery, but their paperwork's a little loose, meaning I just got to chase them down for things on, you know, payroll recs and submittals and other stuff like that. But it shows up and they do a fine job, and they'd be more than capable to do this job. Vermont Rec. I would have no reservation about telling you that they, you know.
So as of the committee, is it worth our while to just, where would we stand on the money wise if we know we're going to get a bid at 131.9, and how would we feel at that point in time saying at this right now, let's look at that and how close are we? What do we need for money based on that bid and moving forward without making changes? What other alternatives do we have? Can we kind of make up a difference of $10,000 or $12,000 in our own budget? Can we put that forth? Can we move in that direction rather than eliminate anything and then have it come back different? If we can work with a 131.9 total budget and keep it the way it is at this point in time right now, how do we stand as far as our financial comfortable level?
We're 23 grand short.
Yeah, $23,000.
That would mean we'd have to eat half our budget, and we can pretty much do nothing the rest of the, I mean, by the time this is up, I mean, we'd have our new budget in July 1, but I mean, it's no different than the $28,000 they hit us with for the roof.
Yep.
But we have it. We have it. If anything, we have more than we had.
If we have,
No, I know.
we're not going to see a finished product here till pretty close towards the end of the fiscal year. So a new budget will be in place for us to work on moving forward. If we had to spend down the balance of our budget and kind of just, you know, hang tight for 3 or 4 weeks until we hit July 1st.
Well, I think we have the money now, right?
Well, there's 2 questions. Can we go into a contract now and expect to pay some of it next fiscal year? I don't know if that's, if we can do that.
No, I don't think Mark, I don't think we have, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if we spent down our budget now, the budget we have, the money we have in place now, a new budget will be for us to work moving forward after this project is finished as of July 1st.
Yes.
So I'm not saying spending money from next year's budget. I'm saying spend the money we have now in place because we know we have it, and then start from July 1st moving forward on the new budget.
Well, the hard part for me is we don't have a budget. We have no spending plan. And I've been asking the rest to have it so we could look tonight. How much money do we have in our reserve? Not a guess, not an approximation. We're just looking about what we spent and not projecting future costs. This is not fiscally, it's not the most responsible way to go forward. We should be having a budget to say.
We have
here's
worked
our-
on a budget.
We do not have a budget, Celine. How much do we spend for fuel? We don't know. We do not have a document that says, here's how much we spend on
I thought we
running
created,
the field house.
Give me a second.
I thought we created that. I know this year is a little different because
No,
the
we
field
never
house hasn't been
created
used. We never went
never
through and did a
created that.
budget with cleaning supplies and
Yep.
security. We never did that.
I got it right
We
here.
started to, but we never finalized it and said, this is what our operating budget is.
I have a budget that we talked about in a meeting on November 14th, 2019. Talk about Mello, DiFilippo, Townsend
Yeah.
Oil, septic, porta potty, cleaning supplies, mowing, alarm systems, electric, fire, cleaning service, wireless connections, we didn't have it, the software system, we didn't have the number for, furniture and a water bill. The total was $36,000 and $36,010. $36,010 is what we had projected based on those numbers. That was before. That leaves us $14,000 to do it, which means we can't do it based off of that. But then that was also, we didn't have the expenses we had in the fall, the spring and the fall as much because we didn't have the field house open. And I'm trying to find the last.
I thought there was something a lot more recent than 2019.
Yeah, we worked on something within the last 6 months. At least we went over numbers. And a lot of it, we don't know. I mean, we don't, there was always that issue of, is the town going to pay for cleaning, the town not? And then they say they're not. And then,
Well,
and
we
then
never,
we have those miscellaneous things that come up, like the roof. We didn't think the roof had to be replaced, but they replaced the roof. So I think we should look at if we have the money in our budget, I think that we should resend it and we should do it.
If I can just, I won't weigh in on your budget, but to Dave's questions about scope, the way that we've recommended you move forward doesn't change your scope at all. You know, we're trying to save you a couple of dollars on the excavation, which I think is a reasonable thing, given some of the feedback I got. The goalposts that we're going to take out are going to be alternate number 1, and the footings are already going to be installed. So you can decide to award those or not. And if you don't award them, you can buy them after, June 30th and buy them through your budget directly from the manufacturer there, and probably still have the general contractor stand them up and put them in for you. So, if we go that route, you really don't change the scope, but you can save a couple dollars plus or minus.
Okay, one other question, Chris. If we go in that direction and then the project is finishing down, we say, okay, we've come up with the money for the additional 4 hoops. Does that have to go back out to bid? Do we have to bid those 4?
No.
If it's an alternative, if we leave it as an alternative, we can plug it right into this.
Yeah. So a couple of things is, well, first of all, the value of it's so small that and you have a quote for it, you could do it. If the contractor is still, and I would assume he'd still be wrapping up at that point, if he's still engaged in the project in any way, meaning he hasn't rolled the very last truck off the site, one of the questions I would ask him before we sign the contract is, will you hold the price on the 4 posts all the way through construction?
Okay.
And typically they say, yeah, of course I will, because they get the manufacturer to hold the price too. And
Right.
then if you decide at the end, hey, we got a couple extra dollars, let's buy 2 of them or 4 of them, then you go ahead and buy them and put them in, and you do it through the GC so that it's not a rebid.
Okay, that makes sense.
Just so everybody's aware, currently, the last invoice that we received from the town was on January 7th, when I sent it to everybody. It shows we had $50,180 in our account. I know we have written checks off of it, but it's not showing anything being paid out. Or actually, excuse me, our available amount is $49,013.11. That doesn't include the fields or any of that stuff still, so there's still money out there, but just gives you an idea where we stand. I mean, even if we did the fields, we'll be whatever.
I am paying the bills and I am paying a fraction of the bills I've paid in the past. There's
So do
no
you think we
cleaning,
spent,
there's
have we
no,
spent, since the last bill they received was 11/5, so you're talking November 5th. From then to now, ballpark, $5,000-6,000? So you're saying we have approximately $45,000 in our account, you would say? Because 5,000 would be make it to 44,000, so I was in there.
very rare that my monthly bills are over $1,000.
So that's just another
It's
piece
on
of
my other
information everybody to
computer, so
list.
I'd have to go double, give me a second. Double check. Carry on.
I just
Everyone's-
asked,
Michael, I'm gonna have to leave. I've got another Zoom meeting at 7, so I'm gonna have to jump off soon. It doesn't mean you need to, vote before 7. You could just tell me tomorrow how you guys ended up, but I can only stay with you guys until 7 o'clock.
yeah. Let's just see what Celine comes back with, but I mean, as we were kind of chit-chatting before the meeting, I'd rather keep the 4 in the bid, but I understand too, it's, as you said, if we have the option, if they could kind of hold it up, we'd like to see if we can get the other 4 in. But again, it's also trying to raise the money from a couple of different sources also, if that was an option.
By putting him in as alternate number 1, all it really does is afford you flexibility. If we put it in the base and you come in over bid again or over budget again, your options are less. If we take that, which I know is about a $10,000 value, and take it off the base, but have it as alternate number 1, you can make the choice whether you put it in or not. And that gives you some flexibility.
Okay,
My other computer isn't booted up. It'll take me 20 minutes to.
yep.
To handle it that way makes a lot of sense. I mean, it gives us the option, but it also leaves it in there. And like, Chris said at the end, if we feel at that point in time, we either have money in our budget or we can purchase them and we go ahead and move forward before the project is completed. The contractor can put it in for us and there's nothing lost. We haven't lost anything. We've got the 4 in there and the courts are completed and we're in good shape.
Yeah, I agree.
So do we want to vote on this?
Yes,
I need a motion. And that's a question, do you want to do them individually or do you want to do it combined? So I just need to know what you guys would prefer. It makes more sense to do them individually, but
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we agree to send the bid out with the 4 additional goalposts being option number 1, which would allow us the flexibility to include them at any point in time in the construction job and resend the bids at this time based on that information.
do I hear a second?
second.
Any discussion?
What about the moving of the?
Second, and there'll be another motion then, Mark, unless someone wants to
Okay.
add it. So not hearing any discussion, all is in favor, Celine,
Yes,
Mark,
Yes,
David Brohl,
Yes,
David Dempsey.
Yes.
Now, how do we want to handle the topsoil? Who wants to make a motion or do we just gonna leave it as is?
I make a motion to have the topsoil, the amount of grade that has to be removed for the basketball court to be installed, to be moved over to that secondary
Reserve?
reserve area, such to save us some cost.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that?
Mike, can you just confirm with town administrator that there's no, I'm not looking for conservation commission issue. It's more of a, we're doing something and select board may need to weigh in on it.
I'll check with Tracy tomorrow. She unfortunately was gonna be here tonight. I was just talking to Alicia via text that both of them had situations and I'm unable to attend tonight, so they apologize. But I will reach out to Tracy to see if we're gonna run into problems with that. So we're just gonna amend this. We're gonna move it to the reserve area, subject to no issues from the town administrator and the select board.
Second.
So there's a second. So I need to get an approval and a vote on the amended. Then we're gonna go to, then we can vote on the motion. So all those in favor of the amended of moving the topsoil over to the field area, or to the reserve area, contingent on the town administrator and select board approval if needed.
Second,
All right. Celine,
Yes,
Mark,
Yes,
David Broll,
yes,
David Dempsey.
Yes.
All right. So now we're gonna move it over contingent. So this is the motion we have to go through this one more time. So this is just to move it over to the reserve field contingent. Celine,
yes,
Mark,
yes,
David Broll,
yes.
David Dempsey.
Yes.
Chris, you ready?
It's everything I need.
Okay.
So we will, just for everyone's edification, we are already advertised to be out on the street on Wednesday. Quite frankly, we've already revised most of the construction documents with the exception of I have to do the footing detail for the goalpost and and a little grading plan for the reserve area. So we'll do that, make sure it's in the documents as it goes out. And we'll accept bids on the 17th.
Okay.
Sounds
You're
good.
gonna be doing the posting on the 18th like you did last month? You're gonna have a meeting scheduled so you can reveal the bids, or?
Yeah, that's set up in the advertisement. So
Okay.
it'll be 11 a.m., I believe, on the 17th, but I'll have to look and see what date. It was either the 17th or 18th. I'll have to look.
Well, the 18th is the Thursday, which it was like last month.
Yeah, I can't recall off the top of my head, but I'll send an email in the morning confirming the date of the bid opening.
Okay. Guys, any more questions for Chris before he leaves? Chris, I really appreciate you taking the time as always. This has been, without you, I don't know where we'd be at this point in the project, so thank you.
Oh, we'll get you there one way or another. So thank you.
Chris. Been very helpful.
everybody.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
take care. Talk to you soon. Anybody else have anything else? There's nothing else on the agenda, so I just want to make sure before I call the meeting. Do I hear a motion to adjourn at 6:55 PM?
Uh,
Oh,
no. Never mind.
so do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn at 6:55 PM.
Mark, you just seconded, I hear. Any discussion? All those in favor? Celine?
Aye.
Mark?
yeah, yes, I,
David Broll?
Aye.
David Dempsey?
Aye.
Thank you all very much, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome.
Nice job, guys. Very
Hi,
good done.
guys.
Everybody
Oh.
stay safe.
Hold it. I forgot to say, when do we want to have our next meeting? We can talk real quick. It's
Well,
not,
it has to be after the 17th, right? Because we'll have the
Yes.
bids in by then.
That makes sense.
so we want to try to shoot for the following Monday would be the 22nd. Anybody gonna be gone? Anybody know of? All right, I will schedule, Celine, if you can get me the meeting notice for the 6 to 7:30 on the 22nd of March.
Monday night?
Monday night.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you all.
bye.
All
All
right,
right.
take care.
Bye now.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye now.